Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, it's a crisp Oregon right now. I'm going with crisp. And it brings up something for me I was thinking about. I'm almost 6 years here into this podcast, and I've been doing the weather report every time. And I got to tell you, I'm running out of good adjectives for describing weather. So all of you weather fans out there, if you've got some bright ideas on how to describe the Oregon weather or any weather, send them to me, molly@mollywatts.com. All right. Don't be shy. I need some help. So how are you? Happy December. If you are listening to this in real time, it is Monday, December 1st, 2025. That is pretty amazing to me. I cannot believe we are already in December. And maybe you are coming out of this Thanksgiving weekend if you're here in the United States and you had some overeating or some overdrinking, some overspending, some overdoing it in general. And your brain starts telling you, it's the holidays. Nobody really changes anything right now. I don't really want to have to think about things. I'll just enjoy myself, start fresh in January. It's too busy. It's too stressful. It's too social. This just isn't the time. Well, if you've heard yourself say one of those things, your brain say those things, I know I certainly have in the past. And in fact, I clung to those like the holiday traditions I had for many, many years. But what if, just what if, those beliefs are the very reason that you should start changing your relationship with alcohol right now? That is what we are going to be talking about this week. We're going to turn conventional wisdom kind of on its head, and you're going to hopefully walk away from this episode not only understanding why December is actually a great time to start changing your drinking habits, but maybe you've got some tools that you can begin to start using immediately, and you will carry that momentum into the new year instead of needing to wait to make change happen. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with one of those most familiar mental roadblocks when it comes to habit change, and that is the classic, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start Monday. How many of you are starting today because it's Monday or it's December 1st? It's a new month, right? Or just because the weekend felt really overindulgent and you're back to it on Monday. You think next month will be better, next year will be better. I will just wait until life calms down. And of course, in December, beyond any month probably, you've got that I'll just start in January and the whole new year and the New Year's resolution and dry-uary's coming. So, right, I'm going to get it all in December. And maybe it sounds a little bit logical on the surface. Life is busy this month. Things are hectic. There is extra social stuff, and you want to enjoy yourself. Isn't that what December is all about? But what's really happening here is actually a well-documented psychological pattern called temporal discounting. And it's what happens when our brain prioritizes short-term comfort or reward over long-term outcomes. even if we know that drinking less aligns with our goals, our brain will choose to delay if it means avoiding discomfort right now. And we don't just delay action, we actually reinforce a deeper belief. And that's the belief that we can't change unless circumstances are perfect. And I got to tell you, that belief kept me stuck for a long time. I would tell myself, I'll be better on Monday. January's coming, it's a new year. But the new year would come and go, and I really hadn't built any skills for navigating real life situations. I'd try, and like many people, I would stick to a resolution for about 3 weeks, and then it would be gone. And what would happen then is that I would be back to just being disappointed in myself, feel a lot of discouragement, frustration, shame. So the challenge is we need to stop believing that change needs a perfect starting point. And what if we recognized that by choosing to start during the holiday season, we are building the exact skills that we're going to need year round? When you decide to make small, intentional shifts now, in the season when you've typically leaned most on alcohol, food, money, spending, enjoyment, you send your brain a powerful message. I am capable of changing even when it feels the hardest. So let's talk a little bit about the brain science. You know that the brain is not fixed. It is constantly changing, adapting based on what you practice, what you pay attention to, and how you respond to those triggers and cues. And this ability is called neuroplasticity. We've talked about it many times here on the podcast. It's one of the most exciting, really, and hopeful findings about our brains that people have discovered in the last, few decades. And the takeaway really is important, and that is that change can happen at any time. And yes, that means even in December. And here's something else that's encouraging. Most people who overdrink are not physically dependent on alcohol. I have shared with you the study from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Society of America, and it shows that 9 out of 10 people who drink excessively are actually not physically dependent in the medical sense. Their habits are learned, and they have a psychological dependence on alcohol. And that means that your relationship with alcohol isn't permanent. It is shaped by repetition, by beliefs, and by environmental cues. And all of those things can be reshaped, rewired, relearned, which is really what I talk about all the time here. That means your relationship with alcohol isn't permanent. It's been shaped by repetition, beliefs, and environmental cues. And all of those things can be reshaped, rewired, relearned, which is really what I talk about here all the time on the podcast, right? It's about rewiring your neural pathways and learning how to see and think differently about alcohol. And one of the most effective ways that we do that is to start during times when your brain is getting a lot of real world feedback. In other words, now. Think about how rich the holiday season is with emotional triggers, with social cues, and with rituals. It gives you an incredible opportunity to build awareness around your patterns. And because neuroplasticity is driven by attention and novelty, your brain is especially primed to build new connections when you do something different, even if it's just one small choice. And that's really the essence of the alcohol minimalist approach. We don't wait for perfect. We don't wait for the perfect time. We start small. We stay curious. And we use real life as our classroom. So let's walk through 4 key reasons why starting in December actually puts you at an advantage. First, you get to practice in the real world. Most people try to make changes in perfect, sterile conditions. They set themselves up for success, right? That's why dry January, why so many people do it, and why so many people just go into dry January or dryuary with the mindset of like, I'm going to, avoid it's past the party season. It's cold outside. I'm going to avoid invites. I'm going to stay inside. But the minute life gets back to normal, so do their habits. December really asks you to build your skills in context during parties, during stress, during awkward family dinners, everything. And that makes the changes that you make more durable. Second, we learned during December that discomfort is not a problem. It's actually your teacher. You might feel more urges, more pressure, more emotions. But instead of seeing that as a failure, I want you to see that as data. Every urge is a chance to learn. What are you believing? What's the emotion underneath? What story is your brain telling you about what that drink will do for you?
Hey, it's Molly, here to talk to you about Sunnyside. If you've listened to this show for any length of time, you know that Sunnyside is my number one recommendation for drinking apps that help you change your relationship with alcohol. I've been a Sunnyside partner for more than 3 years now, and one of the key reasons that I chose Sunnyside to be my app of choice is that they are really focused on continuous improvement, just like me. And for you, it is continuous improvement of the app in terms of how the customer is experiencing it. They've completely redesigned the progress tab from the ground up, which makes it easier for you to see your progress over time. They've introduced mini infographics to help you better see the big picture of drinks reduced and how dry days have added up since you joined Sunnyside. They have a dry day streak tracker now for those of you that are focused on taking a real extended break from drinking. And they intelligently surface trends in your data to highlight any positive things for you, and like a steady decrease in overall drinks over the course of time. These changes and these improvements are something that Sunnyside has continued to do ever since I started working with them. You can check it out over at sunnyside.co/Molly and get started on a 15-day free trial today.
Third, the emotional return on investment is immediate. Even small shifts, like planning one drink instead of 3, leads to big wins. You sleep better. You wake up proud. You enjoy conversations without fog. You're present. And those aren't minor improvements. They're meaningful experiences, and they start reinforcing your new identity right away. And fourth, perhaps most importantly, you break the myth of the perfect start. By changing now, you train your brain to believe that you can grow under pressure. I can show up for myself in chaos, and I don't need to wait for the calendar to give me permission to start changing my life. And that's a mindset shift that will carry you into the new year stronger and not starting from scratch. One of the most powerful parts of my alcohol minimalist approach is learning to identify and shift your alcohol core beliefs, the ACBs, I call them, right? Not your ABCs, but your ACBs. And those are the underlying thoughts that drive your drinking habits. And December is the perfect time to really see them in action. Here are a few of the most common beliefs that tend to surface during the holidays. Number 1, alcohol helps me relax. I mean, I know, I know, it's probably the number one core belief that people hold on to. Alcohol helps me relax. Number 2, drinking makes this more fun. Who hasn't said that they think that alcohol is making something more fun, more festive during the holiday season? Another core belief comes up for people a lot is I deserve a drink. I've earned it. That's the reward kind of mentality, and people often, especially those of you that are the weekday warriors, they stay all week without drinking, but then they get to Friday night and they really overindulge. You really got to look into that I deserve a drink mentality. Another one comes up for people is everyone will notice if I'm not drinking. I really want you to work on challenging that belief by just looking around at how many people aren't drinking when you think that they're paying attention to you. These thoughts don't come from nowhere. They are learned, they're repeated, they're reinforced by years of social messages, family patterns, personal experiences, but that doesn't make them facts. It makes them habits. It makes them habits of thinking. And our thoughts can be just as habitual as our behaviors. And that is something that I also talk about quite a bit around here. And I use a method with my students called the 4S system for creating new beliefs. And it's about challenge and how we challenge old existing beliefs. And that 4S method is pretty easy. It's see, soothe, separate, shift. You see the belief when it comes up. Maybe it's, I can't toast with sparkling water. That's lame. That's just a thought, right? It's not a fact. It's just a thought. Then you soothe it and you say, okay, that's just a practiced thought, not a fact. See, soothe. Now you separate that from reality. Connection and celebration don't depend on what's in my glass. And finally, you shift. I can be present, fun, and connected without drinking. That's worth practicing. See, soothe, separate, shift. When you do this, you're not forcing yourself to behave differently. You're teaching your brain to think differently. And that changes everything. So let's turn this into action. I want to invite you to try something I'm going to call the December experiment. It's not a dry challenge or a rigid plan. It's an experiment, a flexible, curious practice. And here's how it's going to work. Pick one situation, just one, coming up. A party, a dinner, a gift wrapping night at home. Decide ahead of time how you want to approach drinking. Maybe you'll skip it. Maybe you'll have one. Maybe you'll alternate with sparkling water. The key is to decide in advance. Using your prefrontal cortex, your logical, goal-oriented, practical planning brain, and not in the moment when your lower, impulsive reward system brain, habitual brain, is shouting. And then follow through with your plan as best as you can. If it doesn't go perfectly, that's fine. It's just part of the data. Afterward, reflect. What thoughts came up? What worked? What surprised you? How did you feel before, during, and after? Every time you do this, you are building awareness. You are collecting information. You're giving your brain new experiences to learn from. And that is exactly the kind of work I do with my clients all the time. And that's exactly what you get when you work on changing your relationship with alcohol from an alcohol minimalist perspective. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present and willing to practice. So, is December really the worst time to change? Or is that just a story that you've rehearsed? What if the very things that make this month feel hard, stress, parties, emotion, are exactly what makes it the perfect training ground? What if the gift you give yourself this season isn't in a box, but in a new belief? The belief that you don't need a new year, you don't need a reset, you don't need a fresh start, you just need the decision to begin. Right now, right where you are. You are capable, you are worth showing up for, and you can start practicing peace today. That's all I have for you this week, my friends. If you'd like to schedule a call, talk with me, please reach out to me, molly@mollywatts.com. I answer every email. I am the one and only person here at Alcohol Minimalist. So please send me a note or come join us in the Alcohol Minimalist Facebook group. Until next time, choose peace, my friends, and I will see you on Thursday.
Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 2 different ways, and you can learn about them over at my website. Go to www.mollywatts.com/workwithme, or reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email, molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and decide what might work best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going. If there's one thing I know, it's that change is way easier when you stop trying to do it alone.